Welcome back to Security Weekly. We're live at DerbyCon. With me today is Joe Rozner. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
Now, you did a talk today. You just finished, I think.
Yeah, half an hour
on
ago.
Synfuzz, something about grammar-based retargeting of application.
Yeah.
Okay, explain that for me.
So it's a really complicated title, but essentially what it means is building a framework for doing grammar-based fuzzing. And the whole retargetable part of it is being able to take the grammar files from various parser generators and turning those into fuzzers from the grammar directly.
Got it. So based on the language, you have a set of grammar that you then put into the app to try to look for variations in the application during your application testing.
Exactly.
And then kind of automating that whole process through, right?
Yeah, so typically when you're building parsers, you'll write a grammar file, and that will get generated into a parser. And so this is kind of going the opposite direction, where rather than trying to validate that a sentence is a valid sentence in a language, you're trying to generate sentences that are valid for that language to send it into an application and test it. So you're only going to send it things that theoretically should be valid.
Right. And so therefore you're taking some of the randomness out of what a traditional fuzzer would do, kind of, right?
Sure.
And kind of targeting it more specifically so that it makes sense to that language to see if there's specific vulnerabilities or issues with the code, right?
Yeah, so when you're dealing with applications that have really highly structured input, the parser, if built correctly, is usually the gatekeeper. So it's there to basically throw out anything that's not considered valid. But really, you don't necessarily only care about testing the parser. You want to test all the things that happen after it's been validated, what it does with the information once it's been extracted by the parser. So by using this, you can get past that initial gatekeeping phase and get to the potentially interesting part of the application. Interesting.
So kind of what's the benefit for using this kind of approach for the application folks?
So really this came out of needing to identify differences between two different types of, two implementations of the same language. So we were re-implementing our own versions of SQL, and our parser, by virtue of not ever seeing the real grammar, it was reverse engineered, and we had to figure out, how faithfully did we represent this. So cases like that are definitely useful. But also being able, like I said, to be able to use this in a case where we really need to see what it's going to do with valid input.
Got it. Now, is this a product? Is it a prototype? Is
it
a theory?
It's just an open source project that was released around DEF CON. Earlier version of this talk was given there, and the source code was released right around that time. This is an ongoing project that I plan to continue to develop for. There's been a lot of interest already from a handful of people. There's a lot of tooling similar to this already out there. Like there's nothing really new about the technique. Grammar-based fuzzing is a thing that has been around for a long time. The real difference between Synfuzz and some of the other approaches are that it's using different front ends, so you don't have to rewrite the grammar in a specialized new grammar language that the tool uses, and that it gives you a lot more flexibility. It's not something like AFL where you just kind of turn it on and give it an application and it runs. This is a lot more tailored, so you might need to write some code to actually handle the setup and teardown of the application, to feed it in properly, but that also gives you more flexibility in determining if the output of the application is interesting or not.
Got it. So where can people get the open source project?
It's all available on my GitHub. If you go to github.com/jrozner/Synfuzz.
Synfuzz.
That is the library itself. It's written in Rust, so it's available in the crates ecosystem, and there will be language bindings to various programming languages to that, so you can use it from virtually anything.
Got it. So if you're looking for a good Synfuzzer, go find Synfuzz on GitHub. Thank you very much for joining us, Joe.